Alright, I had to start all over because I ran out of space. Alright, so anyway though, I had to bring out the board for this one. Um, I be in these groups on Facebook, and I'm in some trading groups, and one of them, it was this little math riddle. The one I have behind me, I wrote out. I'm sure you can't read it because my handwriting is trash. But it wasn't thing. It concerned me a little bit because, um, for one, a lot of the answers wasn't correct. But that's not the real concerning part. People be slipping, and this was a cryptocurrency trading group, so like knowing that type of math isn't too necessary to be successful in that arena. But what concerned me a little more was the resistance to truth, the lack of attempting to understand because they was kind of so stuck on their original answer and they didn't want to look crazy, even after it's drawn out for them as plain as can be. And as a trader, I'm assuming some of these people either had to be new or part of that 90%. But when you're a trader, like when you trade in stocks, there's no room, and you're dealing with your money. There's no room for stubbornness. There's no room for thinking you right, even though you get like some obvious information. There's no room for that. You'll go broke. You end up under a bridge that way. That's the part that's concerning to me. So as far as the math though, so it goes, a man buys a goat for $60, right? Then he sells the goat for $70. Then he buys the goat again, buys that same goat back for $80. And then he sells that goat back again for $90. How much money did this man make? So, you could do that too. Do the math if you got to. Write it down, pause the video, come back when you're ready. So there was three main answers that I would see. And some people said $20, some people said $10, some people said zero. I seen some people said that he lost $20. So, all right. So let me help y'all out. Let me try to help y'all. I think the confusion. I think it's two things that play into the confusion. Number one is they never gave the man any starting capital, so you kind of just looking at them numbers and only working with them. Then on top of that, it's like a riddle, so you already overthinking it, number one. Number two, you don't have like any starting capital, so that could be kind of confusing. And number three, the fact that it was the exact same goat that he bought, sold it, and then he bought it back again and sold it, I think that confuses people. Because if I ask, let's do the same thing, but let's change up the product so your mind could try to go somewhere else, and we'll even change up the person. So let's say a woman buys a pair of shoes for $100, sells the shoes for $110, then she goes and buys a lamp for $140, then sells a lamp for $150. How much money did she make? When it's asked like that, hopefully it becomes a little more clear to you. Hopefully. But it's the same situation. If you got one answer for the first one and then you got a different one for that one, I'm willing to bet your second one was probably, hopefully, right? And it's the exact same thing. So let's go back to this one and let's give him some starting capital. So let's give him $100. He has $100. He goes out into the world. He's out in the market somewhere. He's on a goat market, looking at different goats. Sees a goat that he likes. I like that goat. How much for the goat? $60 for the goat. $60 for the goat? Cool. Takes out his $100 that he started off with. Takes 60 of that 100, leaving him with $40. Gives the man the $60 for the goat. The man gives him the goat. So now the man has $40 in a goat. All right. Later that night, a buddy sees him. He says, "Yeah, I like that goat." He says, "You like the goat? I just got the goat." He said, "Man, I like it, but let me buy the goat from you." He said, "But I just got it." He said, "I give you $70 for it." $70? Now he thinking like I only paid $60 for it. If I sell it to him for 70, I make a $10 profit. Cool. So remember, he had $40 in the goat. Now he's giving the goat to the man who wants to buy it to him for $70. Gives away the goat, gets $70 in return. So now he has the 70 plus 140, 70 plus 40, which equals 110. So now he has $110 in his pocket, $10 net profit so far. Okay? Then he comes back the next day with seller's remorse. You know what? I want that goat back. Let me buy that goat back. So then he buys the goat back. He says, well, I sell you the goat back, but it's going to cost you $80. He said, that's fine. So he gives him $80. He takes $110, the $110 that he had, he takes 80 of it, which leaves him with $30, gives the man the $80, gets the goat back. Now he has $30 in a goat. All right? And he goes off. And then the man who sold him the goat back said, no, I missed that goat. I know I only had the goat for a day, but I want the goat back. Let me buy that goat back from that man. So he catches back up to the man who has $30 in the goat. He said, you know what? I know I sold it back to you for 80, but let me buy it back to you for 90. He said, all right, you got a deal. Because that's a $10 profit. So he sells the goat back to him for $90, gets the $90 back. That $90 is in addition to the $30 he had, which leaves him with $120. 90 plus 120. Now I'm fucking up. 90 plus 30 equals 120. He has $120. He started with $100. 120 minus 100 will get you $20. $20 net profit. That's how much he made. Okay? Now, some people were saying 10 because, you got it for 60. Then he sold it for 70, bought it back from 80, and they count that as a loss in their mind. No, it's just like I said with the example with the woman. It's not no loss. If she buys some shoes for 60, sell it for 70, and then buy a lamp for 80 and sell it for 90, that way it's easier for you to process she made $20. But it's just because you buying the same product back at a higher price that you sold it for, that plays trickery on your mind, and now you're thinking that they went down in the hole. Nah. No. At the end of the day, it's still two separate transactions for $10 a piece. It was two transactions at $10 a piece, totaling for $20 net profit. And then people were saying he made like $20 in sales and 10 in net profit. No. That's way off, okay? But I forgive you. That's something. Accounting can be tricky. Actually, it is tricky. That's why I feel the need to really educate on it. But this is like the basic parts. Let me break it down to you. So this is how it would look on the income statement, right? Income state. Let me see if I get you a better. Here we go. Income statement, right? This is how it will look. So on the first line, they'll have revenue or sales, right? Well, they'll have total too. So total revenue or sales. What this is how much money was generated through sales. Not necessarily made, but generated, okay? That's the first line they would have. Then under that, they would have cost of goods sold. And they're usually abbreviated with COGS, C-O-G-S. Costs of goods sold. And that's how much they spent on it. All right? And then under that, you'll have your net profits, how much they actually made. Okay? So, first, starting with cost of goods sold, the first goat cost, or I can't say first goat because it's the only goat, but the first time he bought the goat, it was $60. So, $60 will go right here because that's how much it cost him for that good before he could sell it. All right? Sold it for $70. For total sales, $70. So far, he's at $70 sales. 70 minus 60 will give him a $10 profit. So there is no $20 and sell $10 profit. We already see how that's a mistake. Because so far, just off of the first transaction, he has $70 in total sales. Okay? $60 in cost of goods sold. Next time around, he buys it for, what was it, 80? Yeah, he buys it back for $80. So this costs him $80, and this is where like a lot of the confusion came in. That's why I say you should just give him starting capital. And even if he didn't have 100, because people was like, what if he started with 60 or 70? It's the same shit. If he started with 60, then he sold it for 70, then he wanted to go back and buy it for 80. Of course, he doesn't have enough. What would you do? You would borrow the money, and we have to assume that there was no interest on the money borrowed, since that's not mentioned in the equation. So we can assume that he borrowed $10 from somebody to give him the $80. So he starts off with 60, spends it all on the goat, sells it for 70, tries to come back to buy it for 80, $10 short, borrows $10 so he can get the $80 goat, gives them the whole $80. Then he sells the goat back at $90. He started. Then he from that $90 he gives the friend the $10 back that he borrowed, leaving them with $80 cash. He started with 60, ended with 80, still $20 cash. No matter how you slice it, it's gonna be $20 net profit. Okay. And same for goods sold too. All of this will still be the same no matter what he started with. So second time around, he buys it for $80, and he sells it for $90 for, once again, $10 profit, right? So from there, we would just add it up. Total sales would be $160. That's how much money he generated. With that one goat, he generated $160 from sales, okay? Now, it cost him $140 to generate the $160 in sales, okay? Which left him with the net profit of $20. All right? That's how it would be on the income statement. I'm not sure how people said he lost $20 or got to the zero, because the most sensible math I seen when it came to the 10, the confusion happens. I see the confusion happens when he goes back and buys that same goat for 80. So just think of them as two different items. Then your brain won't play that trickery on you. You know what I'm saying? So this is we gotta understand this shit for those of you who follow me with stocks. We gotta understand that how the money is actually made. You know what I'm saying? Sales and net profit are not necessarily the same. And when we say how much money did they make, that's the same as net profit. I've seen some people saying he made $20, but he profit 10 or something like that. The money you make and the money you profit, make is a synonym for profit in this situation. All right. So, hopefully this helped. I mean, it could be tricky. It could be tricky, and accounting is very tricky. I mean, if you think this is tricky, they be doing some shit like to purposely confuse you, to make a company maybe look better than it is. But don't worry, I got you. I'll break it all down. I'll break it all down for you. So just stay tuned. Stop you from being confused. Don't overthink. And for those of you who may come to the wrong conclusion at first, try to be humble and understand. Make sure that you're on point, because if you're not and you want to be stubborn in your ways, your money can get flushed down the toilet. You end up in a cardboard box. So that's it, man. I'll check y'all on the next one.